So the Jaguar Land Rover company, I'm sure everyone is aware about. It's one of the subsidiaries of Tata. Now, today's session, I'm going to give you a complete overview of what happened and what could be the steps in which you could take care of making sure that doesn't happen again. Before that, I'll just introduce myself. Of course, this is an AI-generated image. I leave it up to you to say whether it's close to me or not. So I have about a decade of experience in IT industry, OT, operational technology, IoT, and automotive cybersecurity. And so I do a lot of research on these attacks and then try to understand what are the defensive solutions. So my play area is mostly the blue side of cybersecurity or the defensive side. And so if you see beyond the firewall, right, beyond my security side, I love playing video games. I engage in aquascaping. I'm not sure how many of you know about this art and who like to do this. And also I love race car driving. So this is my passion. And we'll now move ahead from myself and go into the attack as such. So August 31st, 2025. So this is also one of my clients. So we were working with them and all of a sudden we were locked out of our systems. This is the first sign that we see. And what we saw, or what JLR faced that day was that they detected their intrusion on this particular date. It happened a couple of days before, but they already had IDS systems present in their ecosystem and that detected this happening on this particular day. Now, they decided to do a proactive global shutdown. Simple thing, attack has happened, let's pull the plug. This is what they did. Now, within hours, all the assembly lines, so the assembly lines are all connected. There is OT technology that is there, which is making sure that the machinery, the robots who are assembling the vehicles are all coming together, who are connected. So they had to shut down everything. This, as per the UK government, they categorize this as a level 3 event, right? Because there is a wide range of disruption. Almost 5,000 plus UK organizations are affected. Now, this is including the supply chain, that is just not the factory, the supply chain, the workers as well. And right now, it's an estimated of about 200 billion rupees, right? Which is the total cost of this event that has happened. And this is the largest, or you can see the costliest cyber attack that has happened, which includes the loss of intellectual property, the damage to the company, the damage to the supply chain as well. So 5 weeks total shutdown, the entire month of September. Only recently the company started operating again. And there was a weekly loss of about 11.34 billion rupees. 5,000 vehicles, which were supposed to be manufactured by this time, was not. So this is a loss in that production. And we have about 17% of a total decline of volume. So what happened? These are the people who have taken claim to this attack. There are 3 groups involved in this. One is Scattered Spider, the other one is Lapsus, and the other one is Shiny Hunters. They declared in Telegram that they were the ones behind this attack. Now, what exactly happened here is that in March, these groups exfiltrate hundreds of GB of employee data via some Jira credentials that they received. And then they started exploiting this. Also, one point to note is here, there's a SAP application. So even though we are talking about automotive cybersecurity, I'm sure that you can imagine where the attack is originating from, right? It's from the IT side. And then in August 31st is where they detect this. And then now they have estimated that their business recovery plan will take till January 2026, where they'll be fully recovered and they will be patching everything. So if you see, it was a dual attack surface. The first was social engineering, targeted social engineering to get the employee data. They acted as SAP support staff. This is what I understand. Of course, I'm not quoting myself, but they acted as if they were SAP consultants. They did phishing campaigns. They stole those credentials. And then after that, they used the vulnerabilities in the NetWeaver application to exploit this. Now, what happens here is that SAP or SAP company regularly releases the patches, okay, on a monthly basis. But the companies, right, because SAP is an active system, to update the system, they would need to bring it down. There will be a downtime. And in order to make sure that this downtime doesn't happen or take it, they plan it in such a way, they do it maybe 2 or 3 months. So a patch from June may be put in September or October, right? Because this is a business critical system, they need to plan it that way. This, I would say, let's call this a vulnerability. This is essentially a vulnerability. So this vulnerability is what they have taken into consideration. And they stole, there was a credential theft. So they accessed the system and they went through almost $84 billion worth of security infrastructure. There was IDS, like, and there were so many things there already into the system, but they bypassed all this because of a simple vulnerability or a patch that was not done, right? And so you can essentially club this as a human-centric attack vector circumvented even if there were well-funded technical defenses. So the whole failure came because of one thing called the IT-OT convergence failure. Now, what this essentially means is that their manufacturing systems, right, their logistics platform, their supplier portals, all this was combined under one. There was no segregation, there was no network isolation, or when we talk from an architecture point of view, there was no segmentation there. And because of this, right, because it was all under one umbrella and the IT infrastructure went down, the entire infrastructure went down, because of which, since these assembly lines have a dependency or what we say as a digital dependency on each other's. So just to give you an example, right, if they need to produce 10 vehicles in this week, so those 10 vehicles, each vehicle might be requiring 35 electronic components, right? Or we call them 35 ECUs, which are the other computers. It could be your infotainment, your entertainment system, all this combined together. Okay. So all this combined together will form, your entire assembly line. So this vehicle, one vehicle, 35 ECUs. So 10 vehicles means 350 ECUs. Automatically, there's a system which generates a request to 350 suppliers, or how many ever suppliers there are, to get these 350 ECUs. This is how they automate their entire assembly line. So now when this comes into picture, right, the whole essence, because this was come down, was to now contain this attack. To contain the attack, like I mentioned, they did a very simple thing: pull the plug. Okay. So even if you can say there was no physical intrusion into their factory, there was nothing wrong with their assembly line, there was no effect that happened there, just because the digital infrastructure came down, just because the IT connection was severed, right? It made the manufacturing impossible. So this is how you can see a pyramid of how it forms, right? So JLR or Jaguar Land Rover is on top. They have about 1,000 plus tier 1 suppliers. They have a lot of tier 2 or 3 sub partners. So this is the level of how the supply chain works. And around 200,000 workers, right, were affected in this case. And this was an immediate impact which had delayed orders. There were severe cash flow challenges because the payments were done automatically. The suppliers were forced to take loans in order to clear or be able to produce the amount that they were producing. And now it was up to JLR to clear all this immediately, get those bank accounts unfrozen, and then proceed with the payments, and then start manufacturing. So what was the immediate post-incident response? So they did a forensic investigation. So they partnered with an organization called NCSE and different cybersecurity specialists to identify the full extent of compromise. They did cleansing of the system to remove any sort of trace or any sort of backdoors that were operated by the attackers. They did a very secured rebuilding of their infrastructure with more enhanced security controls. They went for two-factor authentication. Excuse me. They went for two-factor authentication to make more protection. and they plan for a phased restart. So what we saw, the restart is planned till Jan 2026. So in case this happens to us, right? Let's say, I mean, we are organizations who are not that well equipped like Jaguar Land Rover. Our infrastructure is not as expensive as JLR. So what we could do, or what are the takeaways that we can take from this particular attack, right? The first one is to have a true IT OT segmentation. So when you are having a manufacturing facility, or you have a factory which you're trying to bring it up online, or this may be a client that is even approaching you, right? They have a factory, they want to take it online. You need to ensure that there are built-in firewalls, there is built-in network segmentation to separate the what we call as a demilitarized zone with a non-demilitarized zone. So this is all network security that I'm speaking of, where you segregate both halves. In case your IT is down, your OT is still functional and can still work, right? The next priority is to establish a zero trust architecture, right? There is no system in the network that will connect to each other without having a mandatory access control and identity control. No one can log into the system without having a two-factor authentication. I'm sure some of you who are from the industry, you would know that even today, when you try to log into your Microsoft 365, you know the password is leaked, that's okay. There is still a two-factor authentication. There is a notification you need to give from your phone, or there's an authenticator OTP that you need to provide. All this comes into picture. Simple solution. The other one is to ensure continuous authentication. So in our organization, we have this thing that this OTP thing, even if you click stay signed in, it still updates every 24 hours, right? And then zero standing privileges. So you have access that is given for 6 months, for 3 months, right? You don't give any access in perpetuity, right? That is not going to happen. And then credential abuse monitoring for authenticated accounts. So we monitor to see whether it's the same location that the employee is accessing from, the same MAC ID the employee is accessing from, because that would be the usual case, right? They're accessing from the same laptop. If there's an unknown system, hey, hello, you're accessing from a different system. Is this really you, right? So this sort of a credential abuse monitoring will also help. Now, another way is to have enhanced GRC and assurance. So you schedule security audits. This a lot of companies do have, but some of them do miss out on the dates. There are some non-compliant activities which kept prolonging. So it is always important to ensure that you stay compliant to all the regulations and the security bulletin that comes out from different government agencies. Automated patch management, this is very important. This is something that we take care of in OT, IoT, and the automotive side, and even IT, it is there, but because of business critical systems, sometimes this get delayed. However, having it in an automated fashion will ensure that you are able to plan better. Continuous BAS exercises, so breach and attack simulation exercises, is something that you do. You hire people from outside to do an active penetration test, including a social engineering attack on your organization, to understand what are your weak points, what is a weak point, how you are able to access. So shifting the risk prioritization from data loss to operational continuity. Now, the target of many organizations is to make sure that the data is not lost. Okay, but for a business critical institute like JLR, or maybe even something similar, the risk prioritization needs to shift to operational continuity, business continuity plan. In case I have an incident, what should be my next step? That should be already there with you ready, and that will help you prevent going into further loss from any such attack. Because see, you can be 99% secure. I am into this defensive side, right, of cybersecurity, and even I will say that there is always a 99% or a 1% chance that an attack can happen. I can only assure you up to 99. So we need to ensure that these measures are already kept. So are you scared? Are you worried that this may happen to you? But here are two organizations who can help you. Of course, every opportunity is an opportunity to present yourself. So I will talk about Xcodits here. So, Xcodits is a company that's coming out from Coimbatore. We are into compliance, defensive, and innovations in the IT security side. We do regulatory assurance. So we ensure it is not just GRC. We take your government regulatory and even enhance it a little more. We even support organizations being certain empanelment. If you're not sure what it is, Google it. You can understand what certain empanelment is all about. There is also a proactive threat hunting that we do. So we do breach and attack simulations. We also log in people into our monitoring platform to help them get any alerts on any vulnerabilities that may affect their systems. We do secure product development. So we build IT products, including websites, with security built into it. So it will be having a 24/7 security protection, even in whatever product that we build. And we also do comprehensive security assessments, and we provide your company to ensure that your company is secured 99% again. But in case that 1% happens, we are still there to help you come out of it. So this is the contact number in case you're interested to reach out for any queries. The second company, which of course our esteemed sponsor and our esteemed organizer is all about, is Kriyavan. So I would like to invite Ashok sir to just give a brief on this attack and what Ashok sir's company Kriyavan can do about it.
Yeah, thank you, Vyshak. So everyone knows like this T20 series is powered by Kriyavan Cyber. Kriyavan Cyber is purely into cyber investigations. In layman terms, we call it as cyber crimes. We don't do any of the policing stuff or so, right? But we just, as Vyshak was explaining, broadly explaining you what is an incident and maybe an unwanted occurrence like a hack or a compromise happens in a company. Something has to be rolled back within some unit of time. Let's say like 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours or something. And if government is noticing you, your clients are noticing you, you need to give them a report. Hey, everything is fine. Everything is back to form. And we need to give them a confidence for them to continue to your product or else for them to invest further on your company. So for that, we offer something called DFIR, Digital Forensic and Incident Response. That's the a post-mortem analysis. Whenever some attack happens, we jump in and we do all sort of step-by-step process to just bring it back to production and make a comprehensive report. What happened, what's happening, and what should not happen in the future. Fine. And as a part of that, data breach containment is also, we are just doing it for the clients. Typically, you name your starting from an individual with a mail ID or a company having the corporate IDs, right? Something that is leaked somewhere on the dark web, right? We do one-time monitoring, we do continuous monitoring is also there. So VAPT and GRC are supplementary things, but our core strength is somewhere on digital forensic and incident response. That is in a nutshell. Hope everyone knows our contact and other things from the groups. You can, anything related to DFIR, you can very well contact Kriyavan Cares for support. Okay, there is a question. Tell more on JLR attacks on some references.
So Ishwar, the entire premise of this attack happened from the SAP system itself. It was one of their core systems where they used to place orders to the supply chain and ensure that there's a continuity. Even the payments were also taken care by these SAP systems. And as I understand, this is again from another source who was very close to the investigation, that the credentials were earlier sourced through a social engineering attack. They acted as they were SAP support agents, and they got the credentials, and they were able to access it. Now, there was no multi-factor authentication here, because of which the credentials were easily being accessed. They could get inside the systems, and once they were able to get inside the systems, they did a network scanning. They were able to identify more systems in the network. And once they were able to see the entire network landscape, they were able to figure out what were the critical systems or the critical servers in the network. And then they started accessing that, and they started stealing information. Now, once they stole the information, they put it on the dark web. They declared that this attack has happened. And then the intrusion detection system within JLR also started detecting some anomaly, some unknown traffic, which was going to servers which were not part of the usual traffic. So once they figured this out, immediately what they did, they just plugged out and then they started their investigation. So this is what the GLR attack is more or less about. Unfortunately, a lot of the things are very sensitive to the organization, so they have not declared it publicly. They are supposed to, so let's wait probably for the official report on what they say. But this is essentially the extent of what I know about the GLR attack. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.